Madhav Mehta and the Pittsburgh team. Pittsburgh, believe it or not, one of my favorite cities in the United States. I remember my first time going there in a taxi, back when taxis were a thing, before Uber. Driving nothing out of the ordinary. Then you get to the bridge and all of a sudden, boom, the whole downtown opens up. I'm like, man, what a cool city. Heinz everywhere, obviously. That's kind of the big thing in Pittsburgh. But I appreciate you guys watching these videos every week. Madhav, I'm finally getting around to you. You asked a great question on one-on-ones. How do you effectively plan and execute one-on-ones? So that's what we're going to talk about here today. And I think, man, I've come a long way. I think back to the old days. Okay, I'm a new promoting owner for the most part. And I'm going to a city, and I remember the owner telling me, hey, Jamie, this rep is going to pick you up at the airport and bring you to the office. Can you have a one-on-one? I'm like, oh, man, my privilege. And so we're having the one-on-one. I thought it was awesome. I thought, man, I'm making a big impact here with this girl. She's asking great questions. And, here's an up-and-coming owner here. This is awesome. Then we get to the office, and I'm looking through the roll call, and I'm looking through production, and I'm like, whoa. This girl's missing half the time. Her production was not good. And I asked him, why did this person pick me up? Well, another person was supposed to pick you up, but she was late, so I got this person instead. I'm like, man, if I would have known all of this in advance, it would have been a much different one-on-one. There could have been much better questions to be asked, and I could have had some much better answers for this individual. And long story short, this person didn't last long. It was a very ineffective one-on-one. So really got me thinking back in the early days, man, I need to do a better job of planning, preparing, and executing one-on-ones. So here's my system for you, Madhav. So I'd like to start by differentiating planning and preparing. I think those are two very different tasks. Think about your weekly planning, right? So what am I doing when? Planting my big rocks throughout the week. And of course, I want to plant the most important things. That's the key part of planning for sure. But the planning really only takes me at least 20 to 30 minutes per week to plan my week. Preparing, however, for those one-on-ones is a totally different ballgame. John Wooden, for every 1 hour of practice, he would prepare for 2 hours. So he'd make his practices great. He wouldn't be winging anything in practice. And so the better those practices, the better the team was going to execute during the games. So I do put a big emphasis on great preparation. But again, preparation and planning are two very different things. So plan the one-on-ones, yes, but then let's get into the preparation next. I find myself sharing a lot of Gary Paulsen stories with you guys. I've been very lucky to have been working with and been mentored by Gary over the years. And so I remember early on, this one really made me scratch my head. Gary said, I've heard, a lot of people say, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. That may or may not be true. I remember what? I've never heard anybody challenge that before. That may or may not be true. He says, but this I know for sure. When you prepare, people know that you care. I'm like, and he said that with such conviction, this I know for sure. When you prepare, people know that you care. It made me think, one time in a one-on-one, Gary said, hey, excuse me, I got to go to the restroom. Goes to the restroom, and on the table is a folder, and the folder had my name on it. And I didn't, of course, sneak through the notes and I wonder what Gary's got in here, but it was thick of pages. It had all kinds of stuff. What it had, I don't know. Was it filled with numbers? Was it filled with notes? Was it filled with surveys? I don't know. But all that I do know is I really felt like Gary cared. He had to have cared. He put a ton of work in to this meeting that we're having right now. So, that is a true statement. People know you care when you prepare, so don't be shy to put in the preparation. When I prepare, it's really 4 simple things that I'm going to share with you. Number 1 is I want to keep track somehow of the conversation. I want to keep track of the progress. So I need a file. So Gary had a file, right, with a whole bunch of stuff. Keep a file. And this doesn't have to be complicated. Everybody can do this. On your phone, you have a notes application. Well, in your notes, you can just create a new tab for everybody that you're working with, right? So just Bob has a file. Sally has a file. Everybody's got a file, and this is where you keep your notes. And people know, again, that you care when you prepare. So you've got some notes, okay? It's the first thing that I'm doing. In the notes, I want to keep track of some numbers, okay? You cannot manage what you don't measure. I mean, if you're going to a gym to lose weight, the first thing that your trainer is going to do is put you on the scale and measure what your weight is for that day. I mean, every time you get on the scale, they're going to measure. So what is the important information? Okay, you don't have to make this complicated. You don't have to have long reporting for the person, but you do want to bring some data to the table. You want to measure the progress numerically. My third thing, if you really want to kick it up a notch, okay, in your preparation, in your notes, okay, survey other people. What do other people have to say? Hey, what's the one thing that Bob's really great at? I mean, if 3 people said the same thing, oh, Bob's great at this. I mean, don't you really want to walk into that one-on-one with some praise? Like, hey, here's what people are saying. I mean, of course. And I also want to know, hey, what's the one thing that Bob could really improve on? That if he did this, it'll give a massive lift. Okay? So I'd like to get other people's opinions. I don't want to walk in with my own bias. I'd like to know how this person is affecting people around them. There's something called the 360-degree leadership or 360-degree reporting. I mean, what do people above you have to say? What do people below you have to say? What do people to the side of you have to say? I mean, those are great reports. I've been on the receiving end of getting that information about me, and I've been surveyed myself on, hey, Jamie, what do you think of this individual? What do you think is great about them? What should they continue doing, start doing, stop doing? So don't be shy to get some feedback. Again, you don't have to make this complicated. You're just adding this into the notes. And the fourth thing that you add to the notes, and I think this has become common language in our business, is know, do, feel. What do you want the person to know? Okay, intelligence. What do you want them to do? Action. And how do you want them to feel? I mean, the EQ part, I mean, how you want them feeling. I mean, that's really important. So if you're thinking of that in advance, okay, you're preparing in advance. Here's what I want the person to know. Here's what I want the person to do. Here's how I want the person to feel. And you're preparing for that one-on-one. You're having yourself a successful one-on-one, and then fortunes in the follow-up. I mean, it's great to follow up. It's great to share some notes from that one-on-one. You can shoot an email or a text, and then schedule another appointment. Again, the planning piece, schedule another appointment, follow up with the preparation. It's an ongoing relationship. It's ongoing development, and you're really helping your people get to a whole nother level in the business, and that's really what we're looking for.